are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. My name is Christina and I am with Synergis on the marketing team. Today we are presenting BIM in the cloud. Curt Egli will be the one who's going to be talking all about how you can utilize building information modeling in the cloud. Curt joined Synergis in 2011 as a solutions engineer for the AEC building side with almost 20 years of industry experience and both bachelor's and master's degrees in architecture as well as a BFA in interior design and planning. He has software expertise in nearly all the Autodesk architectural software, having spent much of his career with Autodesk as a technical account manager. What we're going to do today is we're going to ask that you hold your questions till the end of the session, or if you have any problems with the webcast, please put a little note in the questions pane, and we will make sure that we fix whatever's ailing. Any other questions, if you could put them either in the questions box or just hold on to them till the end of the webcast. We will make sure that we answer them, and anything that we may not have an answer for, we will get back to you. With no further ado, what I'm going to do is turn this over to Curt.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm pleased that you all joined me for this cloud presentation. I have been making my way through the Autodesk Cloud and the Autodesk BIM 360 part of the cloud as well. And as it unfolded to me and I tried to understand what was capability of which part of, especially the two big buckets that Autodesk allows us to access, I thought maybe you would be interested in the same sort of thing as you're trying to unfold it as well. What are the benefits and what's the difference between the two? And then from there we'll go down into individual little pieces. So there's two main ones. They're called Autodesk 360, and then there's another one called Autodesk BIM 360. So I'll try and break them out separately here. And they're accessed separately, but they support each other and have different benefits depending on which one of them you're trying to use. The Autodesk 360 cloud benefits revolve around collaboration especially. So you can store in the cloud, in other words, up on this bank of servers, and therefore collaborate with other people by sharing, and therefore collaborate with other people by viewing. So it's all about collaboration, right? Because you can store things, files on your own computer, but the real benefit comes when you're trying to hit a place where more team members can also securely access those same files and see what's going on at the moment on whatever project you're working on. So here's kind of a snapshot, which we'll drill in and actually demonstrate each one of these in a little bit deeper mode, but it looks kind of like this. You're accessing it through a browser, and when you hit it, you can see files that are posted there, checked by what's being shared publicly or owned by you, by dates, by projects. And when you put a file up there, I was pretty pleasantly surprised to see that I could drill down in deeper. In this case, I threw a Revit file up there, a project, and from it, just the single file, it knew things like the ceiling plans, the drafting views, elevation views, and the like. DWGs, it can be PDFs, JPEGs, whatever kind of file strikes you to be able to post on this site. And then another free aspect of it is AutoCAD WS, which is also kind of a lightweight version of AutoCAD that runs in a browser from the internet. And it's part of that same free login, and I'll demonstrate that for you as well. So this might be like I'm using a notebook computer, you might be using a desktop computer, but it might also be some kind of a handheld device that you're using walking the field or the floor with it as well. There's a second aspect to this that we're going to be going through today called BIM 360. So this is another offering from Autodesk, but it's really about services in this case. The other one that we were looking at was about collaboration, and you can see the second bullet from the bottom there is about collaboration too, because it's multiple team members getting together and working on a project is via analyzing, looking at renderings, doing clash detection, structural analysis, etc. So of course you can't get away from collaboration there, and you wouldn't want to. But I think one of the biggest benefits on the BIM 360 cloud aspect of it is that it's offloading intensive computing aspects of the software to this bank of servers on the other end. So you upload what it is you want to get done, it crunches on it on the other end by a huge farm, and then it posts it back in faster time than you could ever get it trying to crunch it on your own machine. And sometimes that can mean speed, but also the aspect might be like in rendering, for example, where you might have a rendering farm and you have the assets, the hard assets that you've been trying to keep up just to have computers to be able to do that. Now you have the shared resource of bunches of computers. So I'll try and go through those, at least some of them anyway. The BIM 360 at a glance, here's just a few that I picked out. You know, this one's called Glue, so it's Autodesk BIM 360 Glue. And that's one that does, besides a variety of other things, it does clash detection. If you're familiar with Autodesk Navisworks Manage, you'll see some huge similarities between the two when it comes to clash detection. And that was that one. Here's another one I'm bringing up, a screen capture that's around structural analysis. So something that takes quite a bit of time on your computer, you actually point it to the cloud, it gets crunched on there, you get the results, you make smart decisions on how you'd like to change the layout of your structure and or the elements therein, and then you maybe pump it right back up again to say, how did that turn out, is that better? And then go with that analysis, hopefully the smart move. Another one that's another aspect of it, it's not necessarily just about analysis, but there's several of them that speak to that for energy analysis and the like, but it might be about rendering. So here's one where an intense rendering might take a long period of time, where you're trying different views, different lighting levels, especially like when I'm doing renderings. I don't know how many times I've sat there and waited for it to get done, and then when it came back, it was too dark. So you can do several runs, throw it up there with different exposures, different lighting, and different materials. I mean, you could be doing different alternatives and the like for your customer, and then have it crunch on it so it gets done in a more timely fashion here. So the one I showed you originally, the Autodesk 360 about storage, viewing, collaboration, and sharing, let's go take a look at that one with a demonstration. So I am going to go, let me find my browser here. So now I in this case am using Microsoft Internet Explorer. Pick the browser of your choice. When you hit this, the landing page, although it shifted me over to HTTPS to make it secure, the original landing is 360.autodesk.com. And if I'll walk you through the steps at the end of this presentation on how you would go about creating an account, and we'll do it step by step. So here's after you got it already all set up for you. You say sign in. You get a sign-in page like this. You type in your login and then your password. And your password, like mine, probably is star, 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 star as well. It seems like everybody uses that password for some reason. So we'll see if we can get into my landing page. So here are the documents that I posted. I shut down the Getting Started screen, but you'll see something that looks more like this when you come in for the first time, where the top half of your screen is a help screen to help you walk through how to set this thing up. So starting, sharing, learning about it, it points you to the fact that you could do online viewing up there of files, so I'll show you some of that. You can share documents and folders. So we can do it on an access level by document. We can do it on a share by individual to an email address to invite them to come up there. Folders and categories you can coordinate with whether you want to share them or not, so you can have several different projects up there and you don't have to worry about customer A seeing what's coming off from customer B, you know, your customer in that case. And then with DWGs, there's that lightweight online editing that you can do up there as well. And this is one that probably changes over time because they are adding quite a bit to this, especially on the BIM 360 side. So that what's new in Autodesk 360, it may actually tell you if they've made some kind of changes there. So it might be good to look at that from time to time. So I'm going to go ahead and close this in the upper right-hand corner so we have a little bit more room to work with here. So if I look at my documents, for example, here's some folders that I set up, some individual files that I set up. If you hover over the top of them, you'll see some icons that come up in the lower part of each one of these. One of them might be the zooming to view it closer. There might be additional actions that you might want to take place or a comment that you might want to put on it. The folders themselves you can drill into, like I did here, and have JPEGs. Maybe it's a folder of how the construction is coming along, for example, on your project. So here's a photo from this morning taken on site, for example, with the construction as it exists at the moment. Perhaps later, the finished building, and or of your project, whatever you'd like to post there from that, associated documents with it. And here's that Revit project that I pulled up and dropped onto the Autodesk 360 site, my area. And if I want to look at individual views, here was a camera view that I just set up before I left. Here's a 3D view that I had just created just before I posted it. The interactive view, I left this as is so that you can get a sense for this. If you hit it and you do not have Chrome, it'll tell you that you need Chrome for. So once I would have loaded Chrome, then I could have been doing the rotating and such like that, orbiting in space too. Additionally, beyond what you're seeing here for the 3D views, ceiling plans, I'll give that just a second to fill in on your screen as well. Elevations, drop in like so. There wasn't really anything I had to do here. These were all just different views within a Revit project. I didn't have to like plot it or anything like that to get this to work. Floor plans, I was just floored at how many of my plans came up without me having to do anything, sections, sheets, structural plans, and the like. So I was liking what I saw there from that. Let's take a look back at the documents once again, and say within the Monroe project that we would like to upload yet an additional file. So my cursor is up in the upper left-hand corner at the upload button. Say that I want to put one there. It says, well, what would you like to put up onto the site? Here's some construction that I want to alert somebody else to. I say upload that now. So this one is a photo. It uploads it to the site. It refreshes the screen. I'll give it just a second so that you can see it on that end. At first, when it comes up, it looks like just a JPEG icon till the server on the other end gets a chance to crunch on it. The DWG is the same kind of way where it'll put up a DWG and just give the DWG icon till it can prepare the image on the other end for a preview. But simply clicking on it, I was able to bring up the photo and see the file, drill into the file, if you will, to get a closer look at it. Let's say that I wanted to grant access to that file. So maybe I'll go back into that once. Some of the actions that I can do are to share it, upload versions. I talked about doing a private sharing of that. It says, who would you like to share it with? I'll say maybe my personal email address. We're all friends here, so here's me. And say add that. And so this will send off an invite to that person, which, by the way, happens to be me, but send off an invite saying, hey, this has now been posted, check out the construction as of this morning, or problem we're having, or yada yada. Actually, no problems on your end. Just maybe you're saying, hey, check out how far ahead of schedule we are and under budget. So anyway, you hit save and invite, and it'll go ahead. Oh, and then you can set the access as well. Like I just said, download on that one, but I could have the download view And with DWG files, we'll do something a little different there. We'll say, you know, I want to be able to edit that as well. So let's get an extra one up there. Let's say let's upload this one. Let's say select this DWG, upload that to the, and upload now. So we'll pump that up and put that onto it as well. And from that, right when it first comes up, do you see the icon of a little blue circle in the upper right corner? I can drill into the DWG, but until that little blue circle goes away, the little magnifying glass does not show up here in the lower left-hand corner of that large icon. So it means I can't actually like get a full preview so that I can see all of the detail from there. But you know, just let the servers, you know, kind of crunch on it a little bit, and then you'll be able to get a full-blown view. This is just kind of a simple view underneath the hood. You go into the document details about it. You can find information about it and what kind of access you wanted to grant to other people, whether you wanted public sharing on or off, just private sharing with individuals. Now, if you see where my cursor is, there's an Edit Online button. That's the one for DWG files. If you, oops, so I don't know what's up with that. The resource you changed. So much for that one. AutoCAD WS was working, and now it's not. So live by the wire, die by the wire. I'll come back to that in just a second. Here, let me try again with, let me put a comment in here once. So here are the changes, and this should take care of the problem. So you can put individual comments on the files as they exist, right, as you're working with them. So now I got a new comment on that one that says that. Then I'm going to try one more time on the Edit Online, because if you do it twice, maybe that makes a difference. And it's thinking. I think I'm getting just a little more competition out of the GoToMeeting webinar here, where it's having to hit those servers at the same time. So anyway, here it comes up. I don't know if you've seen it on your end, but still within a browser, we're getting AutoCAD WS to come up. So here's my DWG file. And with the AutoCAD underneath the hood, you can see that I have a bunch of different tools that I can work with. I think I'll go over to red for this one, hit annotate, draw a cloud. Maybe I'd like to draw a cloud around this area, put a leader off of that, say from here up to there, and type in some text. Yeah, please clarify this change, and click off of that. And then you can do, under the Home tab here, you can do a save or save as. If you have the authority to do this, it depends on the author whether he gave it to you or not. In this case, the author's me. And I say save as a different file there so I can keep them separate from the original. And now there's another DWG up there that has this red line, or the changes that I just did within that. So I'll log out of that. That's what I wanted to show you with that one. And the WS screen can actually, you don't have to be within 360 to get into it. You can see that www.autocadws.com will give you a chance to log into that one directly if you want to, from a variety of different applications. So that's really what I wanted to show you with 360 piece of it. Let's go back to the PowerPoint here once. The BIM 360 of it, part of it. You know what? Let me make one more point with this. With cloud benefits in 360. I'll talk about this again a little bit later, but Autodesk 360 is free. What you've seen so far, anyway, you get 3 gigabytes of space. It's really easy to create an account and start doing what you saw me doing there already. And 3 gig will take you really long ways. You think about how much space you could drop up in that area. What we're going to be talking about with BIM 360 requires subscription. So you put your products under subscription, and you can get access to the 360 BIM 360 cloud benefits. like the ones I'll be showing you here in a minute. If you did that with Autodesk 360, that part of the cloud, if you get subscription, you get the 3 gig of space jumped up to 25 gig of space on the servers. So pretty awesome. Now, probably have no problems. People run out of space all the time, so I can't speak for you, but I'd never run out of space on that. Hey, let me walk you through some of the BIM 360 stuff. So here's the one that I was talking about. That's Autodesk BIM 360 Glue. So this is like a really wordy bullet off to the side here, but if you break this down into individual couple words at a time, maybe multidiscipline, data-centric. So multidiscipline, architects, engineers, owners, right, contractor types, working on a central model. Since it's BIM, building information modeling, it's data-centric, so you basically load your pieces of the Revit model. My piece might be architectural, your piece might be M, E, or P, gets loaded up there. It gets, because we're using the same origin, we're able to explore the model together and then start to do analysis on it, like clash detection and the like. So it's cloud-based BIM management. Here's another one as well. This is an acquisition of Autodesk called Vela Systems. So it's field management, commissioning, and handover is another aspect of this. So streamlining O and M, right? So we're talking operations and maintenance here, at least from my perspective anyway, the part that's kind of got a warm spot in my heart. So field management services and trying to get mobility happening where the cloud is just very well suited to that. At the point of construction is where they particularly make good work for us there. I also have a desktop application called Infrastructure Modeler. There's also now, and like this, these things, the ones that you just saw popped up as new pics along the side in the 360 login, geez, just maybe 3 weeks ago. And Autodesk's been working on this for a while, but had just turned the key, I guess, on it to expose it to mere mortals like us. And they put the infrastructure modeler up there, so it's Autodesk 360 infrastructure modeler, so it's very much about collaboration, but usually on larger databases of geographic databases, if you will. So maybe citywide or campus-wide, a project that you're doing on a hospital that has 14 buildings on it, something like that, usually is a pretty good place for it. You can edit there as well, but you post your model to it, very large models, and then can access the data under the hood, like pick on infrastructure and find out that it's a 3-foot concrete pipe that's running under the ground there as a part of your model, that kind of data. So that's about conceptual design and feasibility. Structural analysis, I showed you a screenshot of that one. That's another one that's been put in the cloud. So analysis like this, takes a lot of computing power, and so there's a lot of crunching going on under the hood, and that was a natural one to put up under BIM 360. There's 2 different energy analysis ones here. So this is about building energy analysis. I'll show you one of them. I'll unfold that for you as a demonstration, and I'll have enough time to do that. One of them is called, they kind of sound the same. One of them is called Energy Analysis for Revit, and another one is called Green Building Studio. Well, it's Energy Analysis, they might just call it, but it's Green Building Studio under the hood. So the bullet you're seeing at the bottom that says Whole Building Cloud-Based Analysis, that's Green Building Studio. And the image you're seeing at the top for cloud-based energy analysis is the other one for Revit. And that one happens inside of Revit. The one at the top left happens inside of Revit and works on masses. So you have to do a Revit mass, start trying to do different layouts on the hillside, for example, with southern exposure to your building. Then during conceptual design, so this is early stuff probably, you would say, I'm going to run an analysis against this and see what my heating and cooling loads and building performance in general is. And then you go, now I'm going to try, here's where the strength happens, maybe to either one of these. If you see the image in the upper left-hand corner, there's 3 of them side by side, and they're all slightly different. And by changing the form a bit, or the layout of the buildings, you're changing the way that it's going to affect the performance. And then you do that early, and then you come up with a conclusion of what you should, which one of the analysis you should go with. Green Building Studio, not masses, but maybe the next step where you've drawn walls, and you're trying to decide, as a whole building, what if I decrease the amount of glazing on the southern face by 10%? What would happen? That sort of thing. And or need to prove something for a LEED certification of your building. Here's another one that's around rendering. So a rendering is a heavy task that can slow your computer down. And I'll show you some of that live too. Here, let's do that once. So here's one more glimpse at several of them that are up there. And let's do a demonstration of a couple of them. So let me Alt-Tab back over to Revit this time. So I'll wait till that comes up on your screen there. I've got a school up on my screen. I'm going to place a camera in there. So I'm placing a camera, looking at my building this way. And I have a camera view now. Maybe I'll go to shaded. Maybe I'm going too fast for the internet to keep up with me. Be aware, Revit can do a lot of stuff like rendering and the like. So, why do I need the cloud, Curt, right? Well, from a rendering aspect, like if I say this view, I would like to render or render in the cloud. So I got a couple of choices here. When I hit render, it is really nice because it hits, I don't have BIM 360 say, I pick a setting, like medium, what kind of sun I'd like to work with, how many clouds I'd like to work with, maybe very cloudy today or just cloudy, adjust the exposure and the like. These are still the steps that you might want to do before rendering in the cloud. But when you hit render here, it crunches and crunches on your own computer and some time goes by. And then eventually, eventually you find out that it's too dark, and then you do it again with a little, brighter or more, sunlight or artificial lights or something like that, right? With the rendering in the cloud, it works like so. Well, for starters, you need to have, even though the buttons inside of an application like Revit, you need to have the BIM 360 account set up. When I strike on that, it goes out to hit those servers. It says, render in the cloud, step 1, 2, 3. So it'll walk you through it real nicely on how to get there if it's the first time that you're doing it. It goes out to render in the cloud. It says, well, what would you like to render? Which one of your views? Do you want a still image with what size of an image? And what kind of an exposure do you want to work with? And what kind of a file format do you want? Or maybe perhaps instead you'd like an interactive panorama. I'll show you one of those that one of our colleagues did, for example. So with a still image, I say, start rendering. And notify me by email when it's complete. So I can say start rendering. It starts going. Look in the lower left-hand corner. Do you see the green bar? Now it's gone already, but that was the communication that happened to the server. And already it's being rendered, and at any time, if I feel like it, I can say, continue in the background. I got other things to do. So up in the upper right-hand corner, you see the little spinning icon next to Curt Egli. It's saying, it's up there, it's rendering, trust in the force, Luke. And I could just go about my work. It's just an indicator that they either are rendering it, or they have me at least in the queue if the volume is too heavy for the gazillion. There are not a gazillion computers for the bunches of computers that they have up there at their site. So they at least have me in the queue for that. And then when it gets to it, they crunch on it really fast, and then I get an email, and at any time I can go visit. Or if you don't have an email, I just go visit my Rendering 360 site, and I'll get that later. Let's go back to the browser here once, and I'm going to open up a new tab. and go to, that one's not going to be done yet, so let's just go to a different login here once. I'll sign in at the 360 rendering as somebody else and put in the password for that one. Again, star, 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 star. Hit that. And any renderings that I've done up there or anybody else has done up there that's on my team will be shown. So I'll wait till that catches up on your end. I've already got some things on this end. I don't want to move too fast or it won't have a chance to refresh on your end of the screen. I'll wait for a second. You get the little thumbnails if you select on one of them and you pan down a little bit. Just give it a second till it gets a chance to communicate back to the server, and then it fills in with the image down below. Let's try another one. So you're getting the renderings you want, and frankly, this is a URL then that you might want to consider sharing with your customer who might be an owner of the building, saying, here's what our design looks like now. What do you think? Do we need to increase the lobby size? Again, true, it's about crunching and the like, but it also might be about just how quick you can collaborate with somebody else. So here's one of my colleagues, Bill Niddle, and he had chose one of them that was Panorama. Let's take a look at that one once. I think this is his kitchen, actually, and he's been working on. And it's a little different, okay, so it started as a Revit project, and then he said, you placed lighting sources and probably monkeyed with the materials and the like. He says, I would like to render in the cloud, but to a panorama in this case. So because I got the competition with the webinar, it'll take just a second till this comes up. It hasn't quite even hit on my end. Now it's hit on my end. Perhaps it'll hit on your end in a second too. So I'm not sure how this is going to work, as far as you being able to see this if I move too fast. But it looks like a still. I'm going to left click and hold my cursor down. I'll just move slowly so that it has a chance to refresh on your end. As I'm moving this around, I can see around inside the room there too. Once, let me look on another computer and see. It's moving pretty fast for you. It's not too chunky. So you have a chance to explore inside the room, looking up, looking down, looking at what Bill needs to do this weekend. He needs to put a little more wallpaper on the top up there. I'm sure he's got that on his list of things to do. So anyway, that's the rendering piece of it. Let me show you, let's go back to Revit again here once, and let me close out of this one. And I'm going to go to, let me close, no, and let me open up this one. So let's get into analysis a little bit here. So there's several different forms of analysis that are up there that are just very pinpointed towards analysis. The two energy ones, the structural one, and some of the others you might consider to be analysis as well. So I don't want to take away the thunder of Revit either as a standalone application, because there are things that you can do with that. And you people that are using Revit know that if you go to the Analyze button, for example, the tab, heating and cooling, for example. This has nothing to do with BIM 360. I just wanted to show you where the division line is with getting an additional service that's on the cloud that maybe could get you beyond what the application could do. So here I am exploring my building, exploring the spaces inside, getting into the details about it, saying, this individual space right here, highlight that for me. It goes to blue on mine if you could see it if it's refreshed on your end. Places where there might be a problem that I should explore. Looks like I haven't bounded this space yet, so air's leaking all over the place. But anyway, I can do a calculate then and say, calculate that, and do a heating and cooling load so that I can get a report on that. Now this one might be, I guess, you could do it the term might be early and often, but also later in the game as well, because these are looking deep into each space for the report that's going to give back. And we'll see that as it comes up with the calculation of that. I just wanted to impress on you, the thud factor, if you will, of the huge in-depth report that can come back from this aspect of it. So wait till that fills in on your screen. Area of the building, the volume, peak cooling, latent loads, maximum cooling capacity. I'm going to go down a screen's worth and let it catch up. Zone by zone, space by space, down to individual components within them. It's looking at fan heat, for example, the people, the power, the lighting. One we're going to see in just a second is Green Building Studio, and that is called whole building. So the fact that I drop in an extra light right here has nothing to do with it. It doesn't even think about it. It's a different purpose for it, and it's probably earlier in the game here. So with this building, I can say, I'd like to take that building and export it to a format that Green Building Studio can absorb, GBXML. So it maybe looks a little bit familiar, except this button down here has now changed to Next, and there's a detail panel just like before, but when I hit Next on this one, it says, well, where do you want it to go? I'll just throw it out on my desktop here, and I'll call it something new, 5. And it crunches a while, and it creates a file. Now, still I have not hit Green Building Studio yet. This crunching that's going on is the same kind of crunching that it did, sort of, just a moment ago when it was doing the heating and cooling loads on the same surfaces and spaces and volumes and the like. But what I got, and now I go back to work because it's finished up, I've got a GBXML file that's been saved onto my hard drive. So from there, I can go to, let me sign out of this one and go to Green Building Studio. Let's see, where's the sign out? I'll just close it. Okay, so from there, I can either go to the Green Building Studio site, or also if you take a look here on the side panel, if you have your if you've been enabled for subscription benefits enabled, that's the words I'm looking for. Green Building Studio is the choice over here that you won't see with the free one. So if I select on that, it'll take me to the site. And you can see it's just a redirect to a URL that's the 360 site with Green Building Studio. So here's my project, for example, the projects that, let me sign out of this one for a minute. 338, I got enough time. Let me sign out of this one and sign into a different one here. I'll upload it into this site. I got 2 of them set up right now. And I fat-fingered in my one too many stars. Try it a little bit slower. And I'm in. So let's create a new project. I go to the upper corner here. So I create a new project in Green Building Studio. Perhaps I call it something like, Project 109 School. And you tell it the building type. So this is early in the process, right? So like I'm going to choose school or university. And I'm going to tell it what kind of school it is. In this case, this one's a K through 12. And I'll just tell it a test project and put project notes in there. And when you say continue, I'll say show all content because it's actually going to look familiar. It looks like Google Maps, doesn't it, inside? And it is. And you can put in a project location like, let's see, let's go to this town. and say go there. You guys have all done this, MapQuest or whatever, right? It drops you down onto that site where you can choose lat and long if you want to, if you really know the lat or long of that. But also you can see the closest weather station, so when you get weather data, you can find out how close it is to your site. So if this was Arizona somewhere or Nevada, it might be pretty far to the next weather station. You get a little better sense. I think ours are pretty close here in the Northeast. So you get a sense for that. Anyway, if you don't want to drag and drop that to a new location, you can say continue. And yes, I'm authorized to share this and create the project. So it creates a new project, and some information has already been put into this. You can see down through the actions about it. Project defaults and things like that because it was a school and the like. But from there, if I want to, I can say of actions that I would like to upload that file. So I'm going to upload a GBXML file that was created by Revit. But part of the beauty of this too is that it does not have to be Revit to be the source, right? So I say, upload that and get rolling here. So there's a variety of different packages that can contribute to this. This one is not necessarily Autodesk specific in nature. So I'll let it run for just a little bit, but it'll take a little while because the server's going to crunch on it for me. But it'd be really intense on my own. So we're up to 7% run status and on and on. I'm going to sign out of that once, and I'll go back to that. I'll go back to that other one that already has some projects done. We can take a look at it. So let's go to this one. And if I didn't fat finger this one, we should get it. Sign in. Bunches of projects show up. Pick out a project to take a look at it so I can see after the analysis is completed. Take a look at it under the hood. And here's the kind of results that came back. I'll pause for a second as they refresh on your end of the screen. So energy, carbon, and cost summary. I'm going to expand out the lead, wind energy, and natural ventilation potential section of it. More overarching information. Energy end use charts. And finally, building details and assumptions. If we go back up to the tabs up above, I'll let that catch up just for a second for you. You can take a look at water usage. So like if you have to step up and prove something to get LEED silver, LEED gold, I might want to consider this. Here's where the real power, this tab clear off to the right here, I think if it wasn't powerful enough to see where you stand, the chance to, without having to go back to Revit, and put in design alternatives at this stage just like this. General, lighting, roof. Let's go to the southern wall and say, well, what would happen if I changed that to insulated concrete with a 12-inch thick form? What would happen if the glazing type were this instead? What would happen if I decrease the glass on the southern walls by 10%. And you can see up above here that it goes to red as saying, here's what the new alternative that you might want to run with, and then run that alternative and compare the two. So incredible strength that happens with that. So that was just kind of a glimpse of that one. Let's come back to this step by step to get a sense for what you'd have to go through, because I'm really hoping you'll at least try out this one. It only takes a minute. You go to 360.autodesk.com with your browser, and then if you, like I just signed in because I already created one, but you create an account, and then it asks you some things like your political affiliation, your family tree, your genetic makeup, stuff like, I think it's email address and name, something like that. It's something pretty simple. Oh, and your password, like what do you want the password to be, obviously. But I think it was like 4 questions or something like that. So once you've done that, I did some screen captures as I went, because once you enable your subscription benefit services, some of the stuff changes, at least off to the right down in this kind of golden area down here changes. But here's what it looked like when I first logged in. I immediately could do things like storing, viewing, sharing, and collaborating. All the stuff I showed you at the very first, WS, AutoCAD WS, all that. But at this point, the BIM 360 services are not enabled. So what I got was I took a look at my user profile, which is one of the buttons in there. So I saw that my storage was 3 gigabytes, and it tells me, if I have a subscription, I could get up to 25. There was a free trial for 360 rendering, which gave 75 cloud units, and I'll talk about cloud units in a few minutes here soon. And then free AutoCAD WS was up there, so edit Dwg Files. And Autodesk Design Review mobile app. I didn't install that one, but field not of the office use. So all that stuff was already in there and ready to roll. If you do hit that little button in the lower right, well, or at least the right side of your screen that says, I have a subscription, enable, you'll get this dialog that comes up. It says either launch one of your Autodesk products, and then that's already on subscription, and then sign in, it'll recognize the serial number there if you do it from that end, or the other option is to feed in your serial number. And once you've done that, the pane off here to the right that I was going to say circled, I boxed in red, changed, and all of a sudden I still had like the 360 mobile, the AutoCAD WS, for example, except now my 360 rendering is no longer just that 75 cloud units trial. I got a lot more green building studios in there, that sort of stuff. By the way, I got a little excited right at the very first when I saw that as I was looking down the list, Revit was on there, but actually it's a line break. It's Autodesk 360 Energy Analysis for Autodesk Revit, and it looped back. So you still need, well, if you're a guy like me anyway, you still need your application called Revit. It doesn't replace that. It's not like Revit WS or something. I thought I'd give you a little bit of a sense for this with the subscription part. So 3 gig, and then like I said, per seat of subscription, you get 25 gig of space in 360 cloud benefits, right? So now, when I started talking about the cloud units, I'm going to leave this one up there for a second because this one talks about cloud computing capacity. So all the BIM 360, well, actually quite a bit of the BIM 360 stuff is about crunching on the far end. It's energy analysis, it's structural analysis, it's rendering, right? So what they do, I put a few examples at the bottom here. Every time you do a rendering, it takes 5 cloud units. Every time you do a structural analysis, it takes 3 cloud units, that sort of thing, so that you can get kind of a sense for it. But like with 75, even the 75 free cloud units for rendering, a little quick math says that's quite a few renderings. And if you get one of the suites, then you get more cloud units and on from there. So wanted to give you a sense for that. So just this one last slide that I wanted to bring up. So just as as I kind of drilled into a couple different products here to show you around rendering and stuff like that. Let's just come back up to the surface a little bit more. Not just BIM 360, but Autodesk 360 in general here. Access project files anytime from anywhere. That'd be the same with the Autodesk 360 Cloud, and improve the way that you work, and improve the collaboration throughout the project life cycle. And then with the BIM 360, now we're talking about heavy simulation and visualization processes, right, that would normally be on a desktop. You could remove those barriers by having virtually unlimited computational power, I think is how this other slide I read said. It's really about accelerating innovation and collaboration, right? So if you can make wiser decisions earlier in the process, by letting it do a few extra crunches for you. You saw that it actually goes pretty darn fast, even for the kind of complex analysis that I was doing. Huge benefits, both in time, but in cost that can be, from a better design that can happen. So with that, maybe I'll hand it back over to Christina.
So if you have any questions, feel free. I'm not sure if you can unmute yourself. If you can, feel free to do that. If not, if you could type the question into the questions box, we'll give you a minute for that. We did have one question earlier, and I had a question about how much does it cost for BIM 360?
There we go. So that would be the subscription.
Probably have to mute it on your end.
So,
that would be like 2 slides back. I think it comes with, when you're talking about that aspect of it, it comes back to this. So, so BIM 360, since it has to be on subscription, there's no other way to get it. The idea is to get yourself cloud units to be able to use those kind of services. And then if you ever blow over the top, you can purchase more. I don't know how much they're going to charge for that. I guess we need people to start blowing over the top before I get that answer. But, when you get like 500 units for one single seat of an Ultimate Suite, for example, it takes quite a bit to get over the top.
So I had one more question about, are the number of cloud units an annual figure?
So annual figure, as in this kind of a cloud unit sort of a thing. So yeah. Well, that's kind of cutting it depending on how I ask myself that question, because normally subscription is about an annual thing, right? But say that you went off, okay, so here's the question I guess I would have as I look at Christina, who's also not going to know this answer, but we should get our subscription guy in here. If you let the, say that you had 200 cloud units left and you let it no longer be on subscription, she's walking out of the room and leaving me here, I guess, to go get that answer. But I guess that would be the question that we could find out, which is if you went off of subscription, whether you'd still have that 200 to use or not. So I'll look over at her screen and see if we have any other questions coming through. So far, nothing that I see. Okay, she's back, but he's in a conference right now, so
getting after
all for that final answer.
So I do believe that they are they're offered each year when you renew your subscription. I believe they will reset them to 500. They replenish them. I do not believe that they add on. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out that answer and make sure that when I send out that follow-up that everybody has that answer and we'll be able to get that. And we have one more question. Why is Google Chrome required to view interactive view?
And my answer to that is, I don't know. I do know for a fact that my browser IE, I have the newest IE, and it wasn't up to snuff. So I know from back at when I used to work at Autodesk that Autodesk would try and put R&D money behind expanding it out and to make it, Firefox IE as many as possible. And same thing with OSs, like back when I first started, there was like 7 different OSs of Ultrix and Unix and the like that they supported. But they usually start, usually what they do is they get everything tweaked with one and then they move on from there. Apparently they concentrated on Chrome to start for that one. And I just thought I'd point it out to you without actually loading it up, because I wanted you to see the steps that I went through to get to the point that I was at, so that you could go through those steps too without feeling like a what the heck, what do I do next kind of a mode like I was in for a little while.
If you put your hand up, I can unmute you if you have any questions. Is there a limit to the number of clients who can access your files?
And I'm almost 100% sure that that's no. It's on a, well, like for example, the easiest is probably just public sharing, so that you don't even have to say who all gets to get to it. But if you have a large team, you're not going to run into limitations there. Nothing that I've read.
Let's see, any questions? All right, I don't see any additional questions. If you do come up with any questions later on today and you want to send those to me, that would be great. What I will do is I will send out a follow-up probably first thing in the morning. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to email them to us. We'd love to answer them. We thank you for joining us today, and have a great day.